plunder and political bribery, because, of course, they admitted that the society be based on rent-seeking. If you rethink this statement by Mr. Alberdi, you can see that he has rejected the Roman political system, because that system led into political crisis, violence, and last but not least, to final decline and fall of the Roman Empire. No one has a crystal ball to foresee. Alberti didn't have a crystal ball, but he could understand what was going on. In Rome, they said, you should work and you will die. They degraded work as such. And Tiberius Gracchus, the two brothers that were killed by the Italian or Roman senators, they say, how on earth can rats and animals have a place to give birth to their own offspring, and we don't have that? Brazilians in their own forests, Spanish in the desert people, have 1 million or more than 1 million housing units empty. If we analyze current times, we are going to see the following scenario. These are the messages by Wall Street. We don't produce anything, Gordon Gekko says. We just possess, we own. This is the predator culture advocated by Fred Harrison. But is Gordon Gekko to be blamed for this? No, he is living under a law system whereby everyone says, no, don't work. You're an idiot if you work. You're a slave. Don't worry about working. So you can buy a piece of land, and after 3 years' time, you're going to have the price of that land increasing by 3 times. That's wonderful business. And what we are doing there by this resolution, we are condemning thousands of people to our own fellow men, so to speak, to living in shanty towns, to be poor, because one generation is stealing the opportunities to develop to another generation. And what the worker says, the two guys at the bottom of this are two union leaders who always says the following: in this country, no one can make money by working. A country that has, of course, praised Roman law and degraded work cannot have the end that Argentina is having, like Spain and Italy: crisis, decline, and fall. Promulgating this civil code means to be changing the foundations for land ownership, because in the 1930 we levied a tax on land, and then these taxes became 85 taxes in the course of time. He said that they had to change the overall contract system, the powers granted to government officials. And he says the civil code created by Willis Sarfield will end up in a unitarian civil code, whereas the Argentinian constitution is a federalist constitution. So he was foreseeing, Alberdi, that the Roman law was leading we Argentinians into a civil war, as it is now happening with our land, with our big companies. We are opening up our frontiers to foreigners that are reaping the fruits of our work. And Alberdi said that the civil code was anti-democratic, that it was inconsistent with the fundamental law of Argentina, the Constitution. And how on earth can we have a civil code where rights are inconsistent with one another and with the rights enshrined in the Federalist Constitution. So we are creating a hierarchical, class-based system, and will lead Argentina to civil war. And that civil code is the civil code that we teach here at the School of Law in the United States, at the New York University, where they grant PhD studies in this barbarian law system, the civil law system based on the Roman law system. And of course, the idea of barbarian Romans creating this code is the seed of these civil codes that were then created in many other societies. Think about the Middle Ages, Spain, the Salamanca School of Law, and all the experiences that have been replicated worldwide. This is the great tragedy of law. My presentation has a title, and the title is Academies Responsibility in the Corruption of Economic, Moral, and Political Sciences and History. Of course, we could clearly foresee the final outcomes and results of all these moves, but even lawyers cannot see the results. Now, if we have a rent-based system, think about Rome, rents. Rents give right to the Republic, the Roman Republic. Then you have Republic, you have Federation, because rents are collected by municipalities. When somebody asked Fred Harrison yesterday if we were going back to the country, if there was a sort of urban-rural migration. Of course, this will finally happen because municipalities will attract people and destroy all these imperial heads that we have seen in the main national and provincial capital cities. Of course, out of the rent-based system, we have republic, federation, then democracy. But our democracy, to say, is a sort of Caesar-like democracy, because powers and resources lie in the different municipalities. Do you remember when the Roman Empire fell, it was broken up into pieces, and those pieces were small feuds, like our own municipalities today. And then we have seen nationalisms emerge, tragic phenomena. It was a sort of integration toward national or nation states. And of course, this gives rights to civilization, but these are not laptops, ships, or airplanes. Civilization, which means security over life and the fruits of the work done by people, as Alberdi has very well put it.
This will result in a society that would enjoy high productivity and quality of life. When you resign to the rent system because the predator culture takes it away with him, then the taxation system comes up, and this gives rise to tyranny, to union. In the case of our states, the nation. In the United States, union meant the destruction of individual freedoms and a concentration of power in the hands of a single state, as we'll see Jefferson put it. Democracy is Caesarian in the sense that it is appointed by a majority, as it was the case with the Caesar, but the system is clearly anti-democratic. Law will disappear, and what there will be is obligations. We saw this clearly with the statement by the dean here. An academic from New York University came to say that relative rights are paid with taxes. If they are paid with taxes, they are obligations. So rights disappeared with the rent system, and this school should come to be known as an obligations school. Why is that? 40 years ago, taxation was just one topic in a syllabus, the public finance syllabus. It was just one chapter. To graduate as a lawyer, you have to take 4 courses on taxation and another 4 on administrative law. This cave, therefore, has become a school of obligations, not of rights. And of course, results could not be otherwise. Low productivity, low quality of life societies. And see what Jefferson says. I strongly believe that a consolidated government, that is the Union, will become the most corrupt on earth. Why would he say that? Because of the Argentinian national government or the state of the United States, or all national governments? And then Madison says, quote, consolidation in its current and controversial application means destruction of states by transferring powers to the government of the Union. This is the new freedom that started back in the USA with Lincoln and here with Mitre, nationalism, and also in France and elsewhere. So we see here 2 antagonistic systems. What are the consequences? This lack of order in the rent system and the strong presence of taxation gives rise to different aberrant situations. Injustice, inflation, deflation, unemployment, poverty, slums, concentration of wealth, monopoly, migration, immigration, massive migration, all of which will become ever underscored, because when hordes progress, people will feel desperate and will wish to flee their countries. Currency devaluation, financial crisis, mortgage crisis, seizures, eviction, insecurity, legal insecurity, crime, corruption, drugs, human trafficking, slavery, abuse, terrorism, war between countries, civil war, invasion, unpayable external debt, depression, family breakout, ethnic, racial, and religious hatred, anarchy, insecurity, theft, social manipulation, lack of information, media management, degradation of behavior, suicide, mass suicide. All of them are all current, and yet we have become used to what is monstrous and diabolic. And all this will become ever potentiated because the crisis is not present just in a single country but global. It is affecting all countries concurrently. So anyone who wishes to flee violence in a given country won't have where to go. A decade ago, Argentinians said, well, let's go to Europe. Soon, Europe will be a more fearful hell than that we may have in Argentina. So I clearly agree with Harrison, and his talk was most interesting yesterday. This rise and fall of science results from its being based on Roman law. In order to avoid genocide, I mean, we see that whenever there is a principle of action, and Harrison clearly put it yesterday, whenever Tolstoy proposed it, I mean, there is a reaction that goes against change, to going to back to civilization. So the most important thing is to uphold what was done in Argentina, free mandatory education and as instrument for power and domination. This is what gave rise to this cave, to this law school, which is beautiful. When entering this building, no one would dare question this. I mean,